Good morning, class 9. Today we are going to start a new chapter, Kathmandu. Do you like traveling? I hope everybody likes traveling, isn't it? We all want to visit new places, see things around us. We gain our knowledge, we increase our knowledge when we visit new places. Everybody is fond of traveling. The writer Vikram Seth enjoys it very much. In his book Heaven Lake, he describes a long journey from China to India via Tibet and Nepal. Have you heard of places like Ajmer Sharif, Madurai, Sanchi, Varanasi, Sarnath, and Halibid? Can you name some other places like these? What do the surroundings of a holy place in your city look like? I am sure you must have visited some holy places by now. Some famous temples you must have seen maybe in your city or in other cities. And every holy place has some speciality, some distinct feature of its own. Think about it as you read Vikram Seth's description of Kathmandu. I get a cheap room in the center of town and sleep for hours. The next morning, with Mr. Shah's son and nephew, I visit the two temples in Kathmandu that are most sacred to Hindus and Muslims. If you have heard that the most famous Hindu temple in Kathmandu is Pashupati Nath temple. It is very very famous all around the world. At Pashupati Nath, outside which a sign proclaims entrance for the Hindus only, there is an atmosphere of febrile confusion. Febrile confusion means complete chaos. Lot of activity can be seen outside the temple. Priests, hawkers, devotees, tourists, cows, monkeys, pigeons, and dogs roam through the grounds. So these are the some of the things which you can see outside the temple, the Pashupatinath temple. There are so many worshippers that some people trying to get the priest's attention are elbowed aside by others, pushing their way to the front. Since there is lot of rush of the devotees who come here to visit the temple, so some people push aside others so that they can come to the front and they can get entry into the temple first. A princess of the Nepalese royal house appears. Everyone bows and makes way. That means allows the princess to go first. By the main gate, a party of saffron clad Westerners struggle for permission to enter. Foreigners who have worn saffron colored clothes. The policeman is not convinced that they are the Hindus because they are foreigners. So the policemen are not convinced that they are Hindus. And as we have read in the starting paragraph itself, that at the entrance it is written that entrance for Hindus only. That means nobody other than Hindu can enter the temple. A party of saffron clad Westerners struggled for permission to enter. The policeman is not convinced that they are the Hindus. Only Hindus are allowed to enter the temple. A fight breaks out between two monkeys. One chases the other, who jumps onto a Shivlinga, then runs screaming around the temples and down to the river, the holy Bagmati. Bagmati is the river that flows in Kathmandu, that flows below. A corpse is being cremated. Corpse means a dead body. A corpse is being cremated on its banks. Washerwomen are at their work and children bathe. From a balcony, a basket of flowers and leaves, old offerings now wilted, that means that offerings have been dried up, is dropped into the river. A small shrine. What is a shrine? A small place of worship. a small shrine half protrudes, half comes out from the stone platform on the river bank. When it emerges fully, the goddess inside will escape and the evil period of the Kali Yuga will end on earth. This is the belief of the people living there, that when the goddess inside will come out completely from the shrine, then Kali Yuga will end on earth. At the Bodhnath Stupa, this is another famous place in Kathmandu, Bodhnath Stupa. At the Bodhnath Stupa, the Buddhist shrine of Kathmandu, there is, in contrast, a sense of stillness. Now, the writer is comparing two places, two famous places in Kathmandu. One is the Pashupatinath temple, where there is utter chaos because so many people come and visit the temple every day. There are people, there are cows, there are monkeys, etc. etc. So many things can be seen inside and outside the temple. Whereas on the other hand, there is Bodhnath Stupa, which is a quiet place. There is silence, there is quietness, there is stillness in the atmosphere. At the Bodhnath Stupa, the Buddhist shrine of Kathmandu, there is, in contrast, a sense of stillness. Its immense white dome, as you can see the white dome in the picture given in your book. Its immense white dome is ringed by a road. Small shops stand on its outer edge. Many of these are owned by Tibetan immigrants. Immigrants are those people who come to a foreign country to live there permanently. So there are many shops which are in the outer edge of the temple of the Bodhnath Stupa. Then many Tibetan immigrants are owners of these shops. Felt bags, Tibetan prints, and silver jewelry can be bought here. These are the things which are sold in these shops. Felt bags, Tibetan prints, and silver jewelry can be seen. People sell these things here. There are no crowds. This is a haven of quietness in the busy streets around. Haven means it's a safe place. It is a safe, quiet place in the busy streets around. Kathmandu is vivid. That means it is bright. It is colorful. Kathmandu is vivid. Mercenary. Mercenary means it has people who have a desire to earn lot of money. It has people living in it which have a desire to earn lot of money. Kathmandu is vivid, mercenary, religious, with small shrines to flower-adorned deities along the narrowest and busy streets, with fruit sellers, flute sellers, hawkers of postcards, shops selling Western cosmetics, film rolls and chocolate, or copper utensils and Nepalese antiques. Antiques are those pieces of art or the work of art which are very old and which are very rare to be found. That is why they have become very precious. Those things are called antiques. Film songs blare out from the radios. Car horns sound. Bicycle bell rings. Stray cows low questioningly at motorcycles. Vendors shout out their wares. So this paragraph describes Kathmandu. What kind of scenes are seen in the streets of Kathmandu, in the city of Kathmandu. I indulge myself mindlessly. That means he is not bothering about anything. He is just roaming around in Kathmandu looking at various things. Buy a bar of marzipan. Marzipan is a sweet made with grated almond. Buy a bar of marzipan, a corn on the cob. You must have seen some people sell corn. They roast corn on the stove and they sell corn on the roadside. So it is a corn on the cob, roasted in a charcoal brazier on the pavement, rubbed with salt, chili powder, and lemon. A couple of love story comics, and even a reader's digest. All this I washed down with Coca Cola and a nauseating orange drink. Nauseating means sickening. Nauseating orange drink and feel much the better for it. So, when the writer moves around in Kathmandu, he buys different things. He buys the corn, he buys marzipan, then he buys some comics, some storybooks, and even reader's digest. He drinks Coca Cola along with orange drink, and he feels much better when he does all this. I consider what route I should take back home. If I were propelled by enthusiasm, that means if I was moved by enthusiasm for travel per se means myself, by itself, here it means by myself, I would go by bus and train to Patna, then sail up the Ganges past Banaras to Allahabad, then up to Yamuna past Agra to Delhi. But I am too exhausted and homesick. Today is the last day of August. Go home, I tell myself. Move directly towards home. I enter a Nepal Airlines office and buy a ticket for tomorrow's flight. I look at the flute seller standing in a corner of the square near the hotel. In his hand is a pole with an attachment at the top from which 50 or 60 bansuris protrude in all directions. Now he is seeing another thing. I look at the flute seller standing in a corner of the square near my hotel. From his hotel room, he sees at a far off distance there is a flute seller, and he has at least 50 to 60 bansuris coming out in different directions like the quills of a porcupine. They are of bamboo. The bansuris are made of bamboo. There are cross flutes and recorders. From time to time, he stands the pole on the ground. That means he makes the stand on which the bansuris are hanging, he makes the stand rest on the ground for some time, selects a flute and plays for a few minutes. The sound rises clearly above the noise of the traffic and the hawkers' cries. If you have heard, the bansuri has a very distinct and loud sound. Anybody can hear to the bansuri very clearly, even if it is a noisy place. The sound rises clearly above the noise of the traffic and the hawkers' cries. He plays slowly, meditatively, without excessive display. He does not display his bansuris at all. He just attracts the attention of his customers by the bansuri which he is playing. He does not shout out his wares. He is not calling his customers to come to him to purchase his bansuri. People are getting attracted to him because he is standing there and playing the bansuri there. Occasionally, he makes a sale, but in a curiously off-handed way, as if this were accidental to his enterprise. Sometimes he breaks off playing to talk to the fruit seller. Sometimes he stops playing bansuri for some time and he talks to the fruit seller standing nearby. I imagine that this has been the pattern of his life for years. So when he looks at the flute seller, he watches the way he is selling his flute, he is playing the flute, he is attracting his customers just by playing the flute. He is talking to the fruit seller. After some time, he stops playing the bansuri and then he talks to the fruit seller. So the writer, when he sees him, he understands that the flute player has been spending his life like this for many years. I find it difficult to tear myself away from the square. Tear myself away means I found it difficult. The writer found himself difficult to move away from that place. Flute music always does this to me. It is at once the most universal and most particular of sounds. There is no culture that does not have its flute. That means every flute, every culture has its own kind of flute, and each flute has its distinct qualities. The reed ney, the recorder, the Japanese shakuhachi, the deep bansuri of Hindustani classical music, the clear or breathy flutes of South America, the high pitched Chinese flutes, each has its specific fingering and compass. Fingering means the way of placing fingers to play different notes, and compass means range. So every country has its own flute, and every flute has its own peculiarity. It weaves its own associations. That means each bansuri which belongs to different countries, they have their associations with the places they belong to. Yet, to hear any flute is, it seems to me, to be drawn into the commonality of all mankind. Whenever he hears the flute, it may be the flute of China, it may be the flute of India, South America, or elsewhere. Whenever he hears the sound of the flute, uh, he can surely find some common features in the flute, whether the flute is of India or some other foreign country. It seems to me to be drawn into the commonality of all mankind, to be moved by music, closest in its phrases and sentences to the human voice. So, what is the commonality? The commonality is that the sound of the flute moves the people. That means the people are greatly attracted by the sound of the flute. The flute may be of any country. To be moved by the music closest in its phrases and sentences to the human voice. Whether we belong to the culture of India, we belong to the culture of South America or China or any other place, the flute binds people together. Its motive force too is living breath. The motivation is the person who is playing the flute, the living breath. The person who is playing the flute is the motivational force of the flute. Its motive force too is living breath. It too needs to pause and breathe before it can go on. The person who is playing the flute also needs to take some rest in between, pause in between, breathe in between so that he can further continue to play the flute. That I can be so affected by a few familiar phrases on the bansuri surprises me at first. Earlier, when he had not heard the sound of bansuri, the writer never realized that he can be greatly affected by this musical instrument. But now he is surprised how much he is affected by the sound of bansuri, how much is he influenced by the sound of bansuri. That I can be so affected by a few familiar phrases on the bansuri surprises me at first, for on the previous occasions that I have returned home after a long absence abroad, I have hardly noticed such details. and certainly have not invested them with the significance I now do. So earlier, when he had not come in association with this beautiful musical instrument, he had never realized that it can greatly affect him. He will create some liking for this instrument, how that instrument is going to create a deep impact in his mind and on his heart. So he says that earlier when he used to come here and he used to go away, he hardly had any such memories in his mind. But now, when he hears the flute, he is greatly motivated by its sound. The sound of the flute has left a great impact on the mind of the writer. So, with this, he has fond memories of Kathmandu. He has fond and vivid memories of this beautiful place where he sees two very famous things. The first is the Pashupatinath temple and Bodhnath stupa. Both have their distinct features. Pashupatinath temple is a place where there is lot of human activity, there is lot of chaos all around, there is rush of people, rush of the devotees who come here every day. Whereas Bodhnath stupa is a place where silence prevails. There is quietness, stillness in the atmosphere. Then, further from his hotel room, he sees the flute player who is standing at a distance and playing bansuri. He is just playing bansuri and attracting his customers. He is not calling them, he is not making any plea to purchase his bansuri, and this is the way how he sells his flute. And the sound of bansuri has left a deep impact on the heart and on the mind of the writer. So, with this, the writer is greatly impressed by his visit to Kathmandu. Now, children, read the chapter once again, and you will surely understand. When you will read it once more, you will understand it better. Thank you, children.